Staging, is it worth it? And for those that have seen my previous videos, I do apologize. I know I have talked about this till I have been blue in the face in past videos, but I still get asked the question all the time, is staging worth it? And at the risk of beating a dead horse, I am going to record yet another video on this. And essentially, I can answer the whole topic in one quick word. Yes, it is worth it to stage. However, I will get into the reasoning behind that just in case you need a little bit more convincing. So in the Winnipeg market right now, we are still riding the robust seller's market phase. So things have been selling quickly in bidding wars, and it's just been a real battle for buyers. But if you are a seller right now putting your house up, it's not a guaranteed sale, but it's almost a guaranteed sale. Like, things are selling. And also, will your house receive a handsome sum? Most likely, yes, in this market. However, I do want to emphasize that staging is still important. In my opinion, if you aren't staging, you are likely leaving money on the table. And that's okay. If that's okay for you, if you don't want the effort or time or people coming through your house or adding to timelines that do come from staging, then by all means, don't do it. However, if the goal is to maximize dollar and number of offers and speed of actual selling period, then I do recommend staging. Now, there was a 2023 study done by the National Association of Realtors in which they polled buyer's agents, so realtors that specialize working with buyers, on how they thought staged properties were received versus those that were unstaged. The results were staggering. 81% of the buyer's agents that were polled said that staging helped their buyers envision themselves within the home. They also felt that it increased perceived value by 1 to 5%. So if you look at the expense of staging and the payoff, usually it makes sense. It's important really to look at the impact that staging has. Staging should actually be viewed as part of your marketing plan when you are listing your house for sale. What I mean by that is by investing in your staging, you are increasing the market appeal of your property to a wider pool of buyers. And more importantly, it also helps to reduce the objections you have to maybe negative areas of the house. It helps to give the buyers solutions. You have to keep in mind that we are a very, very visual society now. We see everything with filters. We see everything pretty on Instagram and social media. When we see something that looks ugly, it's almost automatically scrolled past or just ruled out. And if people can't figure out a solution simply by looking at something, and you're not providing that solution with your staging, then they're going to rule the property out on you. So first, there's the enhanced visual appeal. So of course, things look prettier, things look fluffier. I will say too, though, like where I notice this having the greatest benefit is, say you have a house that's a little bit more dated. Say, prime example is an 80s built house in Linden Woods that we recently sold. Essentially everything was kind of that golden orangish oak look. I feel like you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. However, bringing in a super neutral palette kind of modernized it. We're not talking about bringing in super modern or super different furniture either. We're talking about neutralizing like strong colors and palettes so that everything is just more palatable. So bringing in like creams and neutrals in a situation like that work with the existing decor, that's really important, and it really increases that visual appeal and honestly detracts from the datedness of the actual backdrop of the home. Another reason to stage is it really results in faster sale times. Right now, we're in a seller's market. Will it be super noticeable? No, your property is probably going to sell in under 10 days anyways. However, in a slower market or one in which average days on market is closer to 30 to 60, it absolutely does shorten that window of time for selling because more buyers can envision themselves within the home and you get those offers in more quickly. 3, higher offers. So similar to my last point of it selling quicker, it is because there are more buyers able to view the house as their own or envision themselves within the house. So Higher offers always are related to quicker selling times too. So you sell quickly, you have more buyers that are interested, you have more leverage in the negotiations, and ultimately you have a higher selling price. And I know I've said it in videos past, but that is how our buyers are trained to look in the market right now, is essentially they are basing what they want based on how competitive it is. So the more people they see that interest in, the higher the perceived value. Another reason, so reason 4, is the emotional connection. So when you are looking at a house and you can envision your kids sitting in this room enjoying, you can envision yourself reading a book here. Yes, we lay out books and we have settees and stuff too. But essentially we're painting a picture of how you could use the space. There is that emotional connection when a buyer can envision themselves within your space. And we do that by creating these beautiful staged spaces that are neutral, so that it appeals to the broad buyer pool, but also so that the buyer can envision themselves there. And 5, it really does create that competitive edge. We sell a lot of new construction homes, and I can tell you I have sold a house that was completely vacant. They didn't want to stage, and then sold the same floor plan a couple weeks later. Like, we're talking apples to apples, not apples to oranges as comparison here. The exact same house, one staged, one not. And the price difference was substantial. Like, it was well worth the investment made. On my part, we're usually paying for that staging because we believe in it so much, but it was well worth the investment. So I will always argue that staging gives you the competitive edge over another listing as it is. So if you were comparing them at the same time, the staged one still would have probably sold for the same amount more, although it might have helped the unstaged version because people could now visualize how to lay it out, but that's not always the case, right? So having a staged option makes a huge, huge difference. So I kind of touched upon it, but let's really get into it now. So now, who bears the cost of staging? A lot of people don't want to stage, and I totally get it because it's a huge upfront cost and you don't know that your house is going to sell, right? Like, we're talking I'm just taking averages in Winnipeg, so an average home here right now is selling around $420,000, which puts you into about a 1,100 to 1,200 square foot bungalow in a decent area. So let's say that's what we're staging. I can tell you from experience, we're usually paying around, like for vacant, $2,500 to $3,000 for a stage on a house like that. And of course, upwards based on square footage. Plus, there's a monthly fee that you pay in rental beyond that after the first 30 days. So if you're not confident it's going to sell in 30 days and you're keeping this furniture in there, it can get quite costly. And keep in mind too that every realtor is allowed to run their own business model. Some realtors don't stage, some realtors will only take listings that do stage. We're kind of a blend of in the middle in that we don't say you have to stage, but we strongly encourage it, and we will pay for that. We will cover that in our fees because I personally believe it is that valuable. So essentially what I'm saying is I will pay for this staging up front. If the house doesn't sell, I've taken that risk. I've paid for the staging, and if the house doesn't sell, I don't get paid. And that's okay. That is fine. But that is how much I believe in it. Just if that gives you any perspective. I always talk about if I were to sell my own house with clients, just so they get a sense of how important it is, in my opinion, is I would hire the painter to paint the whole place. I would hire the stager to stage the whole place. I would move out of my house while it was for sale, personally. But everybody's situation is different, and I understand that. But in my opinion, staging and doing all the proper prep work is 100% worth it. Now, for us bearing that cost of the staging, sometimes it makes no difference in the commission we charge. So, like, we have a rate we usually charge, and we've looked at your house, it's not vacant. Maybe we're bringing pieces in from our library. We're talking about loading up our SUVs, half tons, and bringing pieces over. Usually we don't charge extra commission for that. We're filling in gaps where they need to be filled in. With our existing stager too, she's bringing stuff over. No movers are hired is essentially where I draw the line here. Once we start hiring movers though, so we're paying for moving fees, moving trucks, and setting up usually at least a half day for a stage, more if it's a vacant house. But where we get to that level, then yes, usually I do charge a little bit more on my commission. Usually though, it is no more than the cost of the staging for 2 months. So yes, if your house sells quickly in under a month, then I am making a little bit on that. But if not, I am absolutely paying for all of it. And it's just, honestly, it's tied to the inherent risk involved. But I am paying for that staging upfront regardless. And I have had clients too that wanted to pay the staging upfront, which is fine too. Like, my stager is not going to say no to you just because you want to pay upfront. She has done it before, and that's completely up to you. You don't have to do it that way. In fact, I would say let your realtor pay for it upfront. Why should you take the risk? But everybody's different. If you want to pay the staging fee yourself, by all means, like, all blessings to you. We're not going to get in your way. But what I will say is, regardless of the fees you pay for the staging, it always pays in dividends in my experience. But at the end of the day, what I think is important is a realtor that is making sure your home presents in the best light. And that starts with the staging. Before the pictures ever happen, the video ever happens, because you base everything else from there on that canvas you've created. So yes, staging is important. Again, I am long-winded, I apologize, but I really do want to stress the importance of staging. I see it so many times where sellers just say, like, there's no point in staging, buyers are gonna bring in their own furniture anyways, but it has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with the emotional connection, in all honesty. I have had buyers that bought a new couch and we weren't going to buy a house that wouldn't fit their new couch. Ludicrous, yes, but it happens. However, if we saw a beautifully staged property that they emotionally connected to, that, guess what? That couch wasn't so important anymore. We bought that house instead. So it happens. But what's important is creating that emotional connection and a blank canvas so that buyers can envision themselves within the space so that you can get that successful sale. Staging is 100% worth it. I will die on this hill. I'm sure you could tell I'm passionate about this one. So sorry, again, long-winded, but thanks so much for watching. I am Jennifer Queen with the Queen team and RE/MAX Professionals in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And if you want any advice on staging your home, please feel free to reach out. This is what we do. Happy to help you with that journey. Take care, guys.